Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
"17 million people tuned in last night to the first live TV debate for France's top 5 presidential candidates. Marine Le Pen's far-right National Front party is reckoned to be the most popular amongst young people, with as many as 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds backing her. Now, a far-right youth movement is emerging from the shadows. It is called Generation Identitaire, and it's proposing radical solutions to France's social problems. Our foreign affairs correspondent, Jonathan Rugman, went to the northern French city of Lille to meet the group.
According to one survey, the French are the most pessimistic people on earth. And it's not just because of the state of emergency born of terrorism. The quaint streets of a town like Lille conceal a fierce debate about immigration and identity, while a quarter of France's young people are unemployed. I've come here in search of those proposing radical solutions and shifting to the political extremes.
Le concept de remigration, ce sera de renvoyer la majorité des extra-européens présents sur nos terres, chez eux.
In the centre of Lille, I'm led down an alleyway into a building straight out of a pantomime or a fairy tale. This is what's known as the Citadel. At first glance, it looks like a medieval hunting lodge. It's a drinking club full of hipsters and young professionals. Yet also a sanctuary from the 21st century, presided over by Joan of Arc, the French heroine burned at the stake 500 years ago. But look more closely. Let's hunt the Islamists, says one sign. While on the top shelf there's an old tin of chocolate powder which anti-racist groups have forced out of supermarkets. These are the all-white men and women of Génération Identitaire, planning to distribute leaflets and publish a new magazine. A club for young people with extreme right-wing views, which describes itself as a declaration of war.
Une citadelle, on peut s'y retrancher quand on est assiégé, mais c'est également un bâtiment d'où on peut lancer la reconquête.
Génération Identitaire, or GI, is a youth movement pledging to reconquer France from what it sees as the Arab and African enemy. It has a few thousand members and over 120,000 likes on Facebook. This was a demonstration in Paris last year. It's not part of Marine Le Pen's Front National. It's too extreme for that. Though some of Le Pen's officials began their political careers in the ranks of GI. The GI leader in Lille told me they don't just want to reduce immigration, but to remove the vast majority of France's ethnic minorities, especially Muslims.
Je suis contre l'islam de France, oui. D'ailleurs, c'est un concept qui n'existe pas, qui n'existera jamais. Après, il ne faut quand même pas oublier qu'un terroriste, ce n'est jamais qu'un musulman impatient.
Il faut fermer les mosques, tous les mosques.
Déjà, interdire la construction de mosquées, interdire la construction de minarets. Et à terme, oui, quand les musulmans seront repartis, les mosquées n'auront...
On n'aura pas besoin de...
Tout simplement.
Qui va choisir qui reste et qui départ?
Je pense que d'un premier temps, il y aura une proposition. Donc déjà, ils partiront d'eux-mêmes. Et ensuite, s'ils ne partent pas d'eux-mêmes, nous les aiderons...
Peut-être un ministère d'identité.
Tout à fait. Nous sommes pour la création d'un ministère de l'identité, oui.
Pour choisir, pour décider.
Tout à fait.
This is GI's boxing club in the southern city of Lyon. The battle to defend Europe apparently beginning with personal fitness. At first we were told we could visit, but after the questions we asked at the club in Lille, that invitation was cancelled. The group's slick promotional videos include this one about the GI summer school in the French Alps. If these regimented lines of recruits resemble propaganda put out by ISIS, well, it stands to reason that if a small minority of French Muslims have been radicalised, So have a small minority of French nationalists too. And how could any of them possibly be racist if the concept, to many of them, simply doesn't exist?
Pour vous, la définition de racisme, c'est une bonne chose.
Je ne réponds pas à ce genre de questions pour une raison simple, c'est que en France, on ne nous pose jamais cette question. C'est un concept qui n'existe pas, c'est un concept arriéré des siècles passés.
Pour rencontrer vos camarades à la citadelle, bienvenue à tous.
Last September, Mr. Verhassel opened the Citadel bar to non-members for the first time. Just one night a week for what he called sincere patriots. Anti-racist groups in Lille responded with this demonstration of their own, claiming the bar was itself a backward concept and should be closed. Some in the bar refuse to be filmed, but we've seen no conclusive evidence that its members engage in violence. Though police are still investigating an incident in the town in November.
Yes, that's especially frightening.
Clara Labby, a communist activist, was out celebrating a friend's birthday at a restaurant when the party came under attack.
What was the weapon they used against you?
It was a knuckle duster, and
Did they actually punch somebody?
yes, a young boy who was 17 and who is Turkish, so
How do you know that the people who attacked you came from the bar?
it was openly that they told us that there were activists from Génération Identitaire.
They were pretty clear about it.
Yes, they were completely clear. We didn't ask the questions, they told us, so yes, it's completely clear. I'm afraid of those people. Yeah, of course, we all are.
Mr. Verhassel said he hadn't heard of this incident. He preferred talking about GI's help for the homeless, as long as they are what he calls of pure French origin, including this man who appeared at the door. Then there are his safety patrols on the Lille metro system, designed, he says, to reassure passengers. And he's happy to condemn violence when it's from a certain quarter.
La violence d'islamistes qui massacrent des centaines de personnes au Bataclan, c'est les autres, c'est les extra-européens qui nous imposent la violence.
If you want to find one of the intellectual heroes of Génération Identitaire's thinking, you have to travel deep into the countryside of southwest France, close to the Pyrenees. To the medieval and remote village of Plieux, population less than 200.
Mr. Camus. Oui, bonjour, monsieur. Hello, nice to see you.
Where the lord of the manor, living in a 14th century chateau, is Renaud Camus. Mr. Camus, who is now 70, came up with the theory of the Great Replacement. His belief that the local French population is being replaced by Africans in a reverse colonization. The biggest foreign occupation, he says, since the Nazis invaded France in 1940.
Well, I think there is an invasion. I think there is a colonization. Europe is colonized by Africa in a much deeper way that Europe ever colonized Africa, because the colonization is now demographical, so it's much more serious.
Mr. Camus thinks the Front National don't go far enough in restricting immigration. His solution is far more drastic.
I would force to leave people who don't want to be European or French and leave the French way. If they want to live in a total African or Muslim way, we don't tell them you must leave, yes.
This sounds like ethnic cleansing. It's like saying, if you're not French enough for me, you have to leave.
Yes, if you are not French enough for France, you are a foreign occupant.
Mr. Camus has a conviction for inciting racial hatred. His old publisher in Paris won't work with him anymore. But from his ancient fortress, he continues to predict a battle between civilizations on French soil.
They call us, or call me, xenophobe. I don't feel xenophobe at all. They're changing the meaning of every word.
But it's the perfect word for you. You're frightened of foreigners.
I'm frightened of foreigners
So you're a
taking
xenophobe.
over my country. No.
Yes, so you're a xenophobe. That's fine.
No, a xenophobe is never, ever be that. A xenophobe is somebody who do not like foreigners. I adore foreigners. I want them to stay foreign.
Mr. Camus has paid visits to a Génération Identitaire bar and says he very much admires the group. And men like Aurélien Verhassel share his belief that if immigration isn't reversed, it could be war.
Je pense honnêtement que d'ici 5 à 10 ans, ce sera soit la remigration, soit la guerre civile.
GI is certainly not hiding in the shadows. If anything, it is emerging from them, with issues of identity and immigration looming large this election season, and certainly not about to disappear.
Jonathan Rugman reporting.
There is no way round it. The footage is shocking, indeed downright nauseating. But it draws back the curtain on something that is happening right under our noses. The neo-Nazi group National Action was banned just before Christmas last year on the grounds it was a terrorist organisation. No surprise, perhaps, after it was championed by the killer of the MP, Joe Cox. But an ITV News investigation has discovered it is still operating in secret. There are still combat training camps. Members of the old organisation are still pushing racist and indeed anti-Semitic views and are still saying that Mrs. Cox deserved to die. Words fail us. In a moment, we'll have a statement from her husband on our investigation, which was carried out at some considerable personal and physical risk to the undercover researcher. This exclusive report by our security editor, Rohit Katru, does contain some unpleasant language, not to mention opinions.
National Action is not only a white supremacist group, it is Britain's first far-right terrorist group too. The organisation that celebrated the murder of MP Joe Cox, its slogan, "Death to traitors, freedom for Britain," uttered by her killer in court. NA is banned, it shouldn't exist, but our investigation reveals former members are still meeting in secret. In quaint surroundings, a village in the Peak District, a far-right training camp. After months of work posing as a sympathiser, our reporter was invited to join. They have no idea that ITV News is in the camp alongside them.
So, another one that can use very, very simple in a street situation, back situation.
There are 10 students in this class.
This is a few basic techniques from certain stands.
Followers are being taught how to respond to a knife attack and how to fight back.
If you go that way, that way.
Among the students taking part in boxing class are 2 men linked to NA. This man calls himself James Mack. He has been associated with the group for several years. Here he is at one of their rallies, but he's not the only suspected NA follower here. This is Garen Helm from Liverpool, a former convict, a racist, and today a trainee boxer too. He's the man behind the mask who was jailed after abusing Jewish MP Luciana Berger over Twitter. Away from class, our undercover reporter met some of the men.
All right, how you doing? I'm sorry.
Up close, the 23-year-old Nazi sympathiser.
All right, what's your name? Garen.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, mate.
Sitting out of view, Garen Helm with James Mack talk about Helm's conviction.
I had that argument with that Luciana Berger on Twitter, and I just started just a Jew. All built in on the door, and not even bobbies as well, CID. Someone would pull you in and bang, no previous convictions, no history with the police, but you're going right to prison. They carry on like somebody's died. Do you know, if like a family member died and somebody got off, they carry on like that, just somebody who badmouthed them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the way these Jews carry on.
Then the men discussed the murder of the MP Joe Cox.
It was after that camp we did last year that we really came down on us, and then Joe Cox got murdered, didn't she? So they just used that as an excuse to come after us. And unfortunately, she did have it coming. See, a lot of the lads are bitter over me. I mean, some of the areas we've grown up in, they're so rough and so infested, you know, ethnics that they've literally got no tolerance with people anymore. They believe to be committing treason. I think if you're committing an act of treason against, you know, your own ethnic group, then by right you should be put to death. Are any of the NA lads coming? Or ex-NA?
They're well aware that NA meetings have been illegal since the group was banned.
So the whole thing is just, well, you're not even allowed to meet each other anymore, are you?
It depends. I mean, you can just a name, isn't it? No, I've got pulled by special branch a few times over it, and they basically said, listen, if we see like 3 or 4 of these meeting up, and we deem it to be an NA meeting rather than a friends meeting, and then we'll just come out with everything we've got, so we can't really risk it.
Later, there are lectures on a British apartheid.
Our plan is to take an active role in building an organised white community in this country.
Camps like this were a hallmark of NA.
I mean, I might be trying to support my white community by only going to white-owned shops and stuff like that.
Hi there. Garen.
He's not here at the moment.
Do you mean he's back?
We've tried to put our findings to Garen Helm. He hasn't responded to our requests. But his brother did give this response.
Oh, you mate, before I go mad. Away. Away from the front door.
Okay, all right. Yeah, okay.
Away.
Far-right groups are gaining confidence across Britain. This was Alloa earlier this month. A demonstration by the Scottish Defence League. There were other groups there. Some proudly wear their names, wave their flags.
Can you tell me why your fight is good?
There's one that can't.
Is anyone in National Action in this group?
National Action? What are you talking about? Never heard of them. I heard of them.
The name has disappeared. The ideology endures. Britain's far right is evolving.
Move. You told the market. Bye-bye. Speak, you move. Bye-bye. Move. Move.
And it's growing too.
Well, after seeing Rohit's report about National Action, Joe Cox's husband, Brendan, gave us his reaction. In a statement, he said, the rise of the far right is something we should all take more seriously. Their attempts to undermine our country's values of decency and inclusion will not succeed if we hold together against their hatred. Joe dedicated her life to bringing people together and building stronger communities. And he went on, her values reflected the best of what it means to be British, and the way the nation as a whole responded to her murder is evidence of that. And Rohit is here now. Well, that was intensely uncomfortable viewing. Well done for you and your team, incredibly brave work. What do you, I mean, how big, I mean, it looks scary to witness. How big of a problem in the round do you think it really is?
Well, the threat from the far right is, of course, eclipsed by the threat from Islamist terrorism in this country. But let's not forget that the one death from terrorism in the UK last year was at the hands of the white supremacist Thomas Mayer. This is a pan-European problem. It is growing across the continent. Here in the UK, that white supremacist movement at its most extreme end is led by National Action. That's why it was banned and called a terrorist group last December. Now, Europol, the cross-continental policing agency, are particularly worried about all of this. They have identified training camps like this one as being a particular threat, particularly those with weapons training, as we saw there. They've also said that politicians are particularly under threat by this new wave of far-right extremists. And it so happens that today we learned that a special police unit here in the UK that was set up after the killing of Joe Cox to take complaints from MPs has so far received 53 complaints since last summer. Now, the activist group Hope Not Hate says that essentially National Action has not closed down, and they gave their response to our report earlier.
Our opinion is that National Actions, or those who are involved in National Action, still pose a threat. They haven't really, although they've disbanded, they haven't stopped their activities. They are still agitating, they're still involved in marches and demonstrations, and we believe that their activities, whether they use the name National Action or not, we believe that their activities could encourage others to engage in terrorist acts.
And Tom, I think what we see here has parallels with groups like Anjem Choudhury's Al-Muhajirun, groups that are banned, groups that are classified as terrorist organisations, managing to skirt the law, managing to skirt their prescribed status.
OK, Rohit, thank you very much indeed.
Senior MP investigating extremism in Britain has told ITV News police should do more to stop the banned neo-Nazi group National Action regrouping. It follows our special investigation, which revealed how former members of the far-right terror group are meeting in secret. Here's our security editor, Rohit Kachru.
Last night, we reported from inside a far-right training camp. We revealed how former members of National Action met in secret earlier this month. Classes and conversations secretly recorded by ITV News. Garen Helm, a former member, spoke about the killing of MP Joe Cox. Today, her sister said far-right hate should be rejected.
It's absolutely vital that we tackle a threat wherever it comes from. So that might be any kind of extremism, or actually, in a very non-political manner, anything that is threatening to harm other people.
ITV News has been tracking the movements of former National Action members. This was February when anti-fascist demonstrators turned up at a hotel in London where a far-right forum was held. Some set off flares, but we've established that some former NA members were at the event inside. Then, weeks later, a far-right meeting in Rotherham was closed down. Wayne Bell, a former NA member, was there. Untested evidence from his case suggests he's the man who encouraged the teenage supporter who made this pipe bomb at his home in Bradford.
You'll be aware of media reports that National Action members are gathering and organising under different names.
Our reporting was raised in Parliament today by the chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee, who's been attempting to get the internet giants to take down extremist videos. After seeing our report last night, she found that National Action propaganda was still online.
Still, I'm able to find National Action recruitment videos live on YouTube at the moment. You just search for the word National Action. Why it's so important, I think, that the police are ensuring that they're not just meeting again under another name, but also stopping them from having propaganda videos online.
National Action should have been closed down. And so tonight, counter-terrorism police said they too were studying our report to see whether any offences had taken place. Rohit Kachru, ITV News.
I've been getting